free movement of goods and services and capital that create jobs. We don't want a superstate, we don't want a government of government, we don't want endless bureaucracy, and we don't want this huge imperial structure that is going to control our futures. And the debate should be not at either end of the spectrum. It should be, how are we going to make sure that we change the nature of the European Union to get the European that we want to stay in, not whether we stay in or out of the one that we've got.
So why... If that's so, why wasn't your party leader there last night to take part in the debate and put those views?
I think it's very disappointing that the middle ground doesn't speak up and speak louder on this issue, and it is an indictment of the major political parties that they have allowed the fringe parties to take control of this issue. It is central to the future of this country, and it is something that all the major parties should be talking seriously about.
Diane Abbott, do you think should Ed Miliband have been there last night, and David Cameron?
I don't know about Ed Miliband debating with Nigel Farage, but in response to the actual question...
What did you say, sorry? You didn't know about...
I'm not so sure of the relevance of Ed Miliband debating with Nigel Farage, but I just wanted to answer the question, at least initially, and say that they're not a sideshow, actually. The Lib Dems, in particular, are propping up a Tory government. And what the debate was really about was a process by which the Lib Dems want to fool people that they're somehow separate from these Tories. It's a process of differentiation running up to the general election, but people should not forget everything you don't like about this coalition government. The Lib Dems bear equal responsibility, and they shouldn't get away with pretending they've suddenly become these nice, cuddly Green Lib Dems after 4 years of propping up David Cameron.
Well, yes, you, sir, in the yellow there.
Whatever grade the thing was last night, the debate was last night, we actually did learn one thing, and I'm very pleased about. We learnt that UKIP are against Europe, they're against immigration, they're against gay marriage, which is an absolute outrage. So what are they actually for?
Roger Helmer.
Well, in 3 words, freedom, democracy and prosperity. But I would love to come back on Simon's point. I agree with some of the things he said, but the first point I would make is that given the Comres poll, which showed that voting intentions for May 22nd put UKIP at the top of the list, I don't really think you can call us a fringe party.
Tell us about your views on same-sex marriage.
We'll come to that later.
I'm sure that will come up, so just hold yourself in patience, and it will all happen. But the second thing I would say, Simon, what you want is a Europe of free trade where business can trade freely with Europe, where we're not governed centrally by undemocratic institutions. I agree, that's what we want. The only way to deliver it is to take Britain out of the European Union and then to negotiate a free trade agreement, and that will give you the solution
What
that
about
you want.
the free movement of people? What about the free movement of people?
The free movement of people. Now, this gentleman said we're against immigration. Of course, we are not against immigration. I was furious last night when Nick Clegg kept talking about pulling up the portcullis. We are in favour of, well, if you'd like to listen to what our policy is, I will tell you. Our policy is a policy of managed immigration based on numbers that are reasonable for our society and our welfare system and our schools and our hospitals to support, and skills. We are not interested in nationality, colour, race, any of those issues. Well, you can shake your head all you want. I'm telling you how it is. I'd much rather have a well-qualified Indian software engineer coming to this country than an Eastern European with no qualifications. That is our position, and we are quite clear on it. It is a vital debate.
Answer me one question, then.
Yes, sir.
Farage said last night that he attends the thing, he does debates, but he doesn't vote. So if you wretched people don't vote, what is the point of us voting for you? If you don't vote in the European Parliament, what's the point of claiming your expenses and doing nothing? Because that's what it appears you do.
As I typically work 12 to 14-hour days, I'm not impressed by your suggestion that we do nothing. He did not say,
if you don't vote, why go?
He did not say, sir, that he didn't vote. What he said was he did not vote for more power for the Commission, and nor do I. But my voting participation record, if you want to know, happens to be 88-point-something%, and that is well above the average for the whole of the Parliament, and I've got to tell you, it is above the average for the Liberal Democrat MEPs too. We attend, we work, we vote, but we vote in the British interest, not in the Commission interest.
All right, let's leave that for the moment and bring in Justine Greening. And the question, are Farage and Clegg, Clegg in your government, a carnival sideshow?
Well, I enjoyed listening to the debate last night, but the bottom line is it is going to be a sideshow until we actually get the chance to have a referendum. We can have endless debates on LBC, which we can all listen into, but we actually need to give people the choice.
You won't be endlessly on the LBC, because they're on BBC next week.
And I'm looking forward...
I just have to tell you that, just to get a plug in for the programme. I'm looking forward to watching BBC Two next week as well. But the bottom line is we have to actually allow people in our country, for the first time in decades, the choice on this. And that's only going to happen if we can get over passing a law through Parliament that will actually give people that referendum that everybody wants. Otherwise, we'll never get beyond having a debate in things like question time to the reality. The only party in Parliament who's supporting that is the Conservative Party. There's only one government after this election that will allow you, the British people, to have that debate, and that's a Conservative government. And so we can have all the fantastic To have that debate or to have that referendum?
To have the referendum.
Slip of the tongue to call it a debate. We've had a lot of debates.
It's one of the most important debates our country needs to have, and it's why we support giving the British people their choice and having a referendum. We tried to pass a law to make sure we can have that referendum in the last session of Parliament. Both the Labour Party and the Lib Dems voted against it, and that's why it's not in law today. But we will try and we will pledge that we will have that referendum by 2017 if we're in power.
OK.
I'm just interested to know, do the majority of people in Britain actually want a referendum?
I don't know. What? Have a referendum to find
Or
out.
a government inquiry?
Yeah.
You can have an inquiry about the inquiry.
The woman in blue in the front row here.
Well, I don't want a referendum because I want to stay in the EU, but my
Hang
concern...
on, so you think a referendum would vote the wrong way for you?
I'm very concerned that after decades of EU bashing from the media, that whether there's a referendum or not, that the arguments, you know, so biased in favour of pulling out because of the sort of mad straight banana stories that the press have been running, and not talking about the benefits for, you know, working parents that we've got from the EU or any of the positive sides of it.
Justine Greening, would you say you want a referendum? Would you vote yes, stay in a referendum?
I think I'm like most people in Britain. I'm going to see what the position is at the time. What we've said is we want to try and renegotiate to get a better deal for Britain. We've been unhappy in the Conservative Party about the direction that the European Union's been going over recent years, so we need to get through that, do our negotiation, and then, yeah, people should have their choice.
The woman on the gangway there, in blue.
I'm one of probably quite a small percentage of people in this country, in this audience rather, who actually had the chance to vote, because I'm a lady of a certain age. And quite honestly, I voted for a common market. That's the way exactly it was sold to me. And it made sense. I'm part of Europe. Good trading agreements, friends just across the channel, etc. I did not vote for what we have today. And I certainly want a referendum.
And how would you vote? Would you take the greening line of waiting to see, or would you vote no?
I actually think that David Cameron is perfectly right to try and renegotiate some of the things that the British people aren't happy about. And once he's done that, give the people the chance to vote. It's an insult in a democracy not to.
OK. And the person up there with the red shirt on.
Justine, I saw a poll recently that the EU was not in the top 10 of issues that are important to people coming up into the next election. Why have a referendum on the EU but not on the other important decisions that we elect a government to make for us, such as education or reforming the NHS? Why pass the buck on that one issue?
Because I think what we all recognise is that on the other issues you talked about, health and education, people get chance to vote on the kind of approach they want to that at a general election. But I think, as the lady just said, we've had such a huge change over the last few decades.
We can do that anyway. If we want to come out of Europe, we can vote for UKIP. Everyone can do that.
Right.
Everyone it's clear what their policy is. And if that's so important
the reason we want a referendum is, first of all, because it's a fundamental constitutional question. But you say, why don't we concentrate on British issues? The point is that Europe decides a great majority of them. Why do we have high energy prices? Because of the European climate and energy package. Why do we have unemployment that's at a much higher level than countries outside the European Union? Because of European policies that explicitly increase unemployment in this country.
You can twist your arguments in that way, because that's the message you're trying to put across, that you want to leave Europe.
I think there is a profound difference. I think what we're seeing in Europe is a seismic shift in the democratic control the British people have over their government. And it is absolutely right that on something so important, even if it doesn't poll, even if a poll doesn't even notice it, it's not about polls, it's what is really important to this country and its democratic future. And of course, if we are going to commit ourselves to becoming part of a European superstate, then the people of this country should have a choice.
Simon Wolfson, do you believe in the renegotiation, or do you think this is actually just a way of having a referendum and the cover is that there'll be a renegotiation? Because you won't remember, but the earlier referendum, Harold Wilson said there'd been all these changes. People who looked at it closely said there hadn't been many changes, really. It was an opportunity to get a yes vote from the British people.
I am profoundly optimistic about Britain's ability to change Europe. And the thing that gives me the encouragement is actually doing so much business on mainland Europe and talking to businessmen and people in Europe. And what we don't see here is that a lot of people in Europe, in Germany, in France, in Italy, are also thinking exactly the same thing. They never voted for a European superstate, and we have this one chance now to renegotiate and to turn Europe into something better. We should take it.
You, sir.
If we have a referendum in 2017 and we vote to come out of the European Union, won't that be the end of UKIP?
Yeah, can I answer that gentleman's question? The gentleman towards the back asked, why are the Tories going on about this referendum when it's not in the top 10? And I'll tell you why. Because Cameron is being held hostage, first of all, by a viscerally anti-Europe bunch of backbenchers, and they're running scared of UKIP. Yes. As it happens, I'm not opposed to a referendum in principle, although our position is we won't give a referendum unless there's a real transfer of powers, because I think if you're pro-European, you ought to be able to think you can win. But there's no doubt that Cameron is being held hostage to a bunch of really, I think, obsessive Tory backbenchers and men like him.
Is nothing more than a cynical device to kick the issue into the long grass until after the general election.
Okay. I just think that's completely wrong.
All right.
Smart thing to do to try and get a better deal.
All
that's
right.
what
Well,
we're intending.
we shall see. Let's go on to another question. Alexander Reynolds, please. Alexander Reynolds.
Is the Help to Buy scheme fuelling another unsustainable housing price boom?
This is the Help to Buy scheme and the government giving help to people with their mortgages. We've also had the freedom not to take annuities, and people are saying people are going to buy houses that way too. Mick Hucknall, you're a property owner in a way, in quite a big way. What do you think? Is there an unsustainable house price boom going on in this country?
I actually don't know, to be honest.
Sorry, I asked.
But the impression I get that the Help to Buy scheme is at least getting people onto the property ladder. And for somebody just starting out to buy their first house, I can see that is surely a good thing.
Justine Greening, what do you make of the complaints there have been and the concerns that have been expressed? I see the Prince of Wales yesterday talking about the dangers of London house prices that are rising so much that talented young individuals starting their careers will be driven away from London.
Well, I think we have had a problem with the level of London house prices, and partly across the country that's because we've had 20 years of not enough homes being built for people, so we don't have the level of supply that we need. Housing starts, and now we had more houses built last year than I think any time since 2007. So that's coming back on stream, but it will take time.
By how many? Because it's easy to say more, and it's, 1,000 or two. How many more than 2007?
we've literally seen about 200,000 homes built. So
compared with 2007, what was the figure then?
Well, we had virtually no housing starts by the time that the recession hit. And indeed, if you look at affordable housing as well,